the way too early ESPN rankings came out for college basketball. Look at those Big 12 teams. You have 6 in the top 20. And Houston and Texas Tech 1 and 2. BYU is 6. When you look at that BYU lineup and the potential of what it could be, it's superstar after superstar after superstar. BYU has 2 5-star players on its roster this year. Last year they had Igor Demon. When you think about it that way, prior to those 3 guys, Danny Ainge, and this is according to, I read this article on, I want to get this right, Cougars Insider Newsletter. Danny Ainge was a high school All-American in 1977 in the same class that included Magic Johnson. So if there was a 5-star at that point in time, Danny Ainge would have gotten it. Danny Ainge, of course, goes on to win the Naismith Player of the Year in 81. He was a bad dude on the basketball court. And I'm watching Celtic City now. Danny went on to be a key cog in the wheel of the Celtics' success. And he actually kind of spurred a trade for Cedric Maxwell to leave town so Danny could get more minutes. And he was a shrewd GM even before his time. They would joke around the locker room because all kinds of trade offers started to come in for Kevin McHale, for Larry Bird. The Indiana Pacers wanted to throw a boatload at the Celtics for Larry Bird. When Bird was like on his last leg, they wanted to send like Rick Smits, Chuck Person, and a bunch of draft picks. And, Red Auerbach was like, no. And Danny Ainge was like, Red, you got to make that trade. He'd be like breaking those guys' balls, like, come on. And Red would tell Danny, no. And then Danny says, eventually, I was the guy who got traded. He gets sent to Sacramento. But Danny Ainge is an amazing executive right now with the Utah Jazz. But when you look at BYU, and their starting lineup with Rob Wright, A.J. DeBonsta, and a cast of others, this team is so good on paper that it's scary to think that a collection of talent this great, and I know this sounds funny, but hang in there with me, could succeed together. And rarely do we see like a dream team of sorts come together and actually achieve expectations. But I'll tell you why this team actually is headed in that direction to achieve expectation. There's 2 huge reasons, okay? The first one is Kevin Young, okay? BYU has never been to a Final Four. If there's a guy that's going to captain a ship to the Final Four, it's going to be Kevin Young. And the reason why he's tailor-made for this outfit is because of his ability to coach players with such magnificent talent, being one of the best assistant coaches in the NBA with the Phoenix Suns. So it's not tough for him to conceptualize a starting lineup where you can throw a bunch of great talent together and make it work. The other reason why this BYU situation is going to work, and I don't think that it will fall flat, is because of Rob Wright. Rob Wright, 5-star guy from Philly, transfers to Montverde, is a guy who I believe chose BYU, of course, because of the financial opportunity, but also because of the spiritual component. I sat here in this room and talked to Rob Wright earlier this year, or late last year, I guess. And one of the things I gleaned from him was that he's an amazing kid, and spirituality is a huge part of his life. And BYU and the situation there is the right kind of school for a guy like Rob Wright. And it's a perfect fit. And one of the things about Rob that I love, and really one of the things about our next guest, Trevor Moai, who's getting ready for the NFL draft, we're going to talk to in a second, is their spirituality and their faith, and how that enables them to handle situations that feel larger than life. And this situation this year will be larger than life for Rob Wright, but he is up to the task. And the reason I single out Rob is because he's going to be the point guard. He'll be the maestro directing this orchestra, right, of great talent on the floor at the Marriott Center, where we all know it is tough to go in there and beat BYU. And I think now, one thing that BYU has to be cautious of, and we've talked about this, Scotty, with Scott Drew, is that BYU will now be, this is the first time, maybe in school history, they will come into a season as the hunted on a national level. BYU will have a target on its back this basketball season. So how they handle that, I think they'll handle it fine because of Kevin Young and because of Rob Wright. But there is a lot to handle, and you're going to need someone at the controls that is like Cool Hand Luke, and you got him in Rob Wright, right? From Philly to Montverde Academy to a starting point guard in the Big 12 after taking the job away from a former All-American, a former Final Four starter, Jeremy Roach. A lot to like about this BYU team. We'll continue to cover them